everyone. A very warm welcome to second episode of Energized Thinking. And I'm so excited today because this is our second episode. And in this particular podcast, we talk about curiosity. Curiosity that ignites your thinking, because I think that's the basic fundamental part of our brain. And I'm your host, Ambreen.
Courtney, and here at Energized Thinking, we are all about asking questions that truly make you stop, think, reflect, and even sometimes challenge the rules.
Together, the three of us have embarked on this journey to bring you insights that spark curiosity, fuel growth, and open doors to new possibilities.
Today, we are so excited to be joined by Barbara Vokatis. She is a mom of a neurodivergent kid. She is an advocate and an author of, of a book. And she's also going to launch her second book, which we're going to talk more about it. And the other amazing thing about Barbara is that she is bringing some revolution in the class by bringing the dog therapy.
So, from introducing therapy dogs into classrooms to really inspire participation, to then also writing a deeply personal book that defines her journey, Barbara truly shows us that curiosity can spark meaningful change.
And today, we'll explore Barbara's journey, what it really means to advocate for your child, how curiosity can open doors to new possibilities in education, and the lessons all of us, parents, teachers, and leaders, can take from her experience.
And I know that this is going to be an amazing conversation about resilience, creativity, and the energy that comes from asking the right question instead of settling for the easy answers.
So, let's jump right in. Barbara, welcome to Energized Thinking.
Thank you so much for such an incredible welcome. I'm so happy to be here and just so appreciated of all of you because I know you and you are my friends, collaborators, and more. Thank you.
It's truly an honor to have you with us, and I know that no matter how many times we had our conversation and interaction, it's always inspiring to learn from you. So I actually we gave a very short brief introduction. Can you tell us a bit more about your personal journey as a mother of a neurodivergent kid and how it shaped your mission to change the education system?
Thank you for this question. So the journey has been is 18 years long, I should say. And we found out that my child has autism. I think I'm going to use the pronoun they because my child is neurodivergent and also gender fluid. And they is the pronoun we use. Therefore, I'm going to try to use that one. So they were about 7 years old when we found out that they had autism through diagnosis. I mean, it's a long, I'm not going to give a long description of what exactly it was happening at that time, but that's where the diagnosis took place. There was a misdiagnosed and then diagnosed, all kinds of things like that. And then really trying to work with the school system, with the school district, with the teachers, with everybody involved. And then trying to figure out if there is something I can do to see what else we can do about helping neurodivergent children, because I saw that something was missing. Like there is a system, but the system really was not working very well. And I started getting some ideas, such as about therapy dogs, how therapy dogs maybe they can help neurodivergent children in school. And that's the idea of certifying my therapy dog, first regular dog, right, without being a therapy dog, and going through all the certification, then going to school and seeing what you can do with therapy dogs. So that was one piece. But now, and that actually shaped me a lot because therapy dogs and researching about their role, speaking about them became a part of my really career, my professional life. So that's a big part. And then recently, I decided that it's time to speak about even a larger picture, because so far I've been only speaking mostly about therapy dogs and how therapy dogs can help in the classroom. But now this is actually a part of the larger picture. Autism, my child, my journey, and all kind of connected together. And again, this is a part of my professional life because you cannot really separate these things. In my new book, I speak from the perspective of a dual perspective of a mother, but also educator, because you can't distinguish these two things really. I mean, you kind of can, but they will be always together.
I think that's so beautiful. And I think that your book, it's just such an important perspective. Like you're saying, it is from different perspectives and different angles that we all need to see and read and hear about. And Barbara, I would love for you to share with us some of the biggest challenges you faced early on while navigating the school system for your child, and bring us back to back then and let us know some more about that.
I wish I could say that there were periods with no challenges, but the only time when there was not so much of a challenge is when we encounter a teacher who would be really willing to work more with us and appreciate what Kalina brought to the table as a student, as a person. So that's really what it goes down to, I think. What teachers do you meet on your journey? But as far as dealing with the system and how it works, the challenge was right from the beginning. How the meetings are organized, how the show, so to speak, is run, and how you cannot really change the system because you can't. How you have to then think, what can you do about it? Are there any other ways of working with the system? Who do you speak more? What kind of teachers are you going to have this share? And then often you find yourself that some teachers will be very easy to work with and then others not. So you're not going to have a year where you will have like only great teachers. So that's the kind of the struggle. I would not say that there was a year without any struggles or obstacles. Every year was hard. And actually, the funny and not so funny thing about the struggle and challenges of this kind, because again, I'm I'm not a parent who has an autistic child in first grade or second grade. I've got the journey that's of an 18 year span, right? So that's quite a bit. Karina is going to the last grade in high school. And I was thinking, I thought that the higher you get, so you get from elementary, then middle, and then you go to high school, the easier it might get. And it actually turned to be the opposite way, which is very interesting and strange and not very welcoming, but that's what happened. Last year was extremely tough for a variety of reasons, and also how the high school is set up to.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Barbara. And you had
Welcome.
touched upon it a little bit, but when was it during, like, was there one point where you just saw that something needed to change in the system where you then decided to become an advocate for change? Was there like one moment?
I wouldn't say it was one moment. I think it was just, it was a time. It was a progression of my thinking, and things were, so to speak, using the cooking analogy, things were boiling slowly. You know what I mean? Right. So there wasn't just one moment, but I think that something very interesting happened last year. I think it was last year. I met a very interesting person, expert, helping autistic families to get through, and helping the teachers understand autistic children. And her knowledge was just so incredible. And I learned so much from her. And then I used what I learned from her to speak with the teachers. And I think that high school period was the most defining moment, because that's when I noticed that many teachers, don't really know almost nothing about serving autistic children. There is something interesting that happens in high school. You have general classroom teachers, and they teach, well, English, social studies, science, right? And children of special needs, they still have something like special education teacher who helps them. But many regular classroom teachers think that it's not their job to really teach in more individualized ways, children of special needs. I mean, they kind of do. I mean, the kid is in the classroom, so they teach supposedly everyone. But if you turn to them and ask them for more individualized help, you have questions, you want a little bit more collaboration between parent and the teacher, sometimes you get nothing. You may even get very rude responses. And that's what really, I think, made me think about the situation, and made me think I got to do something more about it. It's not just about therapy dogs, and including therapy dogs to help autistic children and to help the whole school community, actually, because that's what this is about. But I have to really speak more about my journey and about my experiences, to bring more awareness and to really help others in many different ways, I hope. So I would say that the high school difficulties, definitely, it was like this final stamp on, Barb, you gotta get this book going.
Thank you for sharing that, Barbara.
Sure.
Like your journey is, as you said, that is full of struggles and challenges, but what's so inspiring about you is that you never actually stopped by all these struggles, and each of the time, I think what you face the struggle or challenges, you actually learned that what are they teaching you and trying to find a solution not only for your kid but also for the system, right? So I know that you actually introduced the therapy dog, right? So what made you think that a dog can be a useful sort of tool to actually help kids learn better? What gave you this idea?
What started the idea?
Yeah, well, how did you get to the idea of bringing the therapy dog in the classroom?
It really started with struggles with the educational system with my child. I saw that, well, there were actually two things. One thing, I saw that even though the system is supposedly set up to help children, and I participate in the system, I speak with the teacher, but there's so much that doesn't work. Like, my kid still struggles, and I still struggle myself as a parent. So I was thinking, what else can we do? There is something missing in the school, in the system, in the classroom. Something's just not really happening right. And I just had this idea of how about, I heard about therapy dogs, but I didn't know much about it. I heard that they can help in the classroom. I had no idea how. And I just thought, what about if we get certified as a therapy dog team? And I can bring my dog to the classroom and just kind of, not specifically just to help my kid, but just see how learning changes because of the therapy dog. So that's really what the idea was. What else can we do? And my curiosity, I was, oh, if I see a problem, I want to solve it. I don't know how to solve it always, obviously, but I know how to be curious and test ideas. So therapy dogs, and including therapy dogs, was an idea of testing something, right? And another situation was that our dog was very difficult to, when she was very young, it was very difficult to walk. She was very strong. She's right now 75 pounds dog. And we had to have her train a little bit so I could walk her. And then the trainer was then helping us, and she saw a potential in our dog. And I remember when she said, I think she could be a really good therapy dog. What about if you do a little bit more training and see how that would work? So these things were just kind of happening together at the same time. She gave us this idea of therapy dog, and I'm like, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know why would I do it really, but then, maybe I can try it. Maybe this can help children in the classroom. So everything was just kind of happening together and for a reason, as Ambreen says.
Yes, absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. That's very
Right.
true. Yeah.
I think that's
Thank you.
amazing, Barbara. And I think that, I met you, Barbara, back in early 2023. So
Yeah.
over 2 years ago now. And, like we joke about this, Barbara and I, but what I remember the most out of one of our initial meetings was that your therapy dog barked hello in our podcast. It was amazing. It was amazingly timed. And I will say that was ingrained in my memory. It was ingrained in my brain.
Yep.
And I could see how that really, when you bring a dog, when you bring something so kind of like unique, so different into the classroom, how that would just light up children and just have them sparkle, have them remember things that they normally wouldn't, or have them feel safe when they maybe weren't feeling safe. I would love for you to explain more to us about, share your insights of the impact that you saw with therapy dogs, what the impact was on children with autism, as well as the classroom environment as a whole.
Thank you for this question. Well, I saw things I had no idea I would see, and it's really even almost hard to explain. But when you enter the classroom with your dog and the kids already understand and know that you come every week, like once a week, right? They expect you going to come in, the dog is going to come in. They're just waiting for this. They're just waiting for this. And the dog can become a part of their community. Like they know for this year, Carmel will be coming every week, right? And if you also collaborate with the teacher who's more innovative, then she can say, well, and guess what? We'll do some really cool projects with Carmel. But even without doing very innovative projects, just when you come in with your dog and the kids have a chance to pet the dog, touch the fur. Some kids have like these sensory issues, so that can be a really cool experience. They can touch the dog, they can pet the dog, they can whisper something to the dog, and all of a sudden, in their space, they have a friend, someone who is not has nothing to do with teacher authority. I mean, they can have a very lovely teacher, and often they do, but it's not the same as having a friend in the classroom. And then with that, I become a friend too, right? Because I brought the dog, and they had no idea in many times that I'm like an educator. I work at college. They had no idea. Um, Later, we told them what I actually do, which sparked a lot of interest. But I was just like this person who brings their favorite dog, Carmel's mom, right? I wasn't the teacher, I wasn't an authority. So what happened also is that they were saying to Carmel, I love you, Carmel. Thank you so much for coming today. I had such a bad day today, but you came and everything is just so cool. And another thing too, they learn a lot from me too, because they talk to me too, obviously. So I told them certain things and they learn from me, not from an authority, but from Carmel's mom. It's a different totally learning. And the teacher could take advantage of this, right? Of this other person who comes in. We had a child who started talking in the classroom because of my dog. Like the kid was not talking at all, just at home, supposedly, but not in the classroom. And one day I came with Carmel, and Carmel touched the boy or something. I don't know exactly what she did. And he just started laughing. It's like, oh, Carmel, you came to visit me. It's so cool. And that was like the first time the teacher heard the boy speak in the classroom. And so it's just totally amazing. But then you create this. We had children who had very challenging behavioral issues, and but then you come with the dog and they get interested in the dog and they don't need really attention or they're going to have these issues because they get interested in the dog and they like forgot that they were supposed to act out or whatever. It totally changed their behavior and they started to become more creative in a way that was not it was behaviorally appropriate. Because when you talk about someone who hits other children in the classroom, that's the kind of issues that the teacher experienced. Then how does this boy become a part of the classroom? They had to have like extensive behavioral plans, some kind of intervention. But again, Carmel comes in and the boy becomes extremely creative learner with no behavioral issues. So that's really cool, isn't it? And not to mention a lot of creative activities that we did in which kids learn so much because Carmel was a part of this learning. But really, what's really, really cool is that the presence of the dog creates a community, a classroom community. And through that, kids help the dog. Kids learn about how to take care of the dog. And in that way, they also learn how to take care of others in the classroom, how to be kinder because of that. So there's so much learning you can do and such a cool way of creating a good, kind classroom community with the dog. And if you create this community, then all the kids, including autistic kids, will do well.
It's amazing. I love that.
Barbara, thank you so much for sharing that. I had to ask, and I had to also commend you on taking an innovative approach to witnessing a challenge but taking action. Now, if we go back to the very beginning, when you suggested the idea of bringing dogs into classrooms, what was the initial maybe impression or thought by parents, administrators, even teachers?
That's a great question, too. Initially, when I thought about introducing my dog to the school, there was no thinking about any kind of innovation. This innovation just happened later. But um, I basically I remember I emailed principal and I asked about this possibility. And because I had a connection, my child was in school. The principal already knew me. Other than that, being total outsider, even though you certified therapy dog owner or partner, you can't just easily enter a school just because you are certified therapy dog partner. So that connection was very important. I remember I shared a picture of Carmel in email. I asked her if she would like to meet my dog, but she didn't need it. She was just so totally into it. She said right away, "This is so awesome. What a lovely dog. Let me email some teachers to see who would be interested in doing this with you, right? In just welcoming your dog into their classroom." So she asked some teachers, and some of them said yes, and that's how it really started. And then one of these teachers, whom I actually later on met in the hallway, she wasn't one of those teachers from the group that the principal initiated. I was just with my dog in the school, walking down the hallway, probably going to a classroom. And this one teacher just saw me in the hallway. It's like, "Hi, what are you doing here? What's going on? What a lovely dog." And she says, "Maybe you could come in to my classroom." Like, "Why not? Okay, when?" And that's how I started going to her classroom. And she was very open to trying new things. And then we wrote the book together too. So the introduction with her was just we just introduced each other to each other in the hallway. And parents, that I didn't have anything to do with parents, so to speak. I didn't talk to them. The teachers initiated this. They sent permission slips, email to the parents. They told them, "Well, we're going to have a therapy dog once in a week, and we need your permission. What kind of dog that is?" They knew exactly what to do to just get parents on the same page and to make that happen.
Yeah, That's amazing. Especially like what I really like about you is that you, whenever you have this problem, you try to keep trying to search some solution and come up with some innovative ideas. Literally, like we have been working with, we have like worked on so many like initiatives. Like we did some education symposium. We had like lots of things, and you in like in the, if I had just we met in again, I think the same time when Valerie met you, but in those 2 years I've seen you like you've taken like initiative after initiative, because you know that you're trying to find out some solution, you're trying to find out some way to work out. And I think that shows that you want to do something for the system and for your kid.
Yeah.
And as a parent, of course, you know that then it's not easy. It's not easy to actually raise a neurodivergent kid. You have struggles, so many struggles. And as an educator, because I think what you've learned from your experience as a parent, you applied in in your field, because you are an educator as well, which is the fabulous thing that you are taking this experience as a learning, and then you're trying to provide a solution to the system. So from your perspective, especially when we talk about especially the neurodivergent kids, they are not taken very easily. They're not taken as seriously. They're often the subject of a lot of criticism. They have to go through lots of things, right? So what do you think from your perspective? What is the most urgent change required from the school to the school system that they need to make today?
I think that the most urgent change is really to make sure that at every level of education, so elementary, and this is going pretty well at elementary level, I think better than in high school level, that the teachers understand their role as teachers. Because unfortunately, I think that some teachers do not understand it, or they just refuse to be teachers for every child. So every teacher should ask themselves a question, and also the principals, when they interview those teachers for the job, right? They really need to ask them some serious questions. Why you are the teachers? Whom do you serve really? Only so-called regular population? If not, what are your strategies and mindset for helping neurodivergent children? And really, you have to be you have to scrutinize these job candidates, how they're going to do on those jobs. That's so very important. But then later on, do the teachers have time and access to quality professional development? Because there are probably there are different ways of looking at autism, and you're going to have different types of professional development workshops or whatever videos coming from these sources. So this is a challenge that the school district should also somehow figure out. From where do we have professional development that our teachers digest and then practice, use it in the school? So I don't think this is very complicated as far as what needs to be changed immediately. It's just that people need to be willing to understand that, because serving neurodivergent population, you have to have more patience, you have to have a little bit different attitude, and you have to understand about autistic people and what do they bring to the table. If you don't think they bring anything to the table, they just people who need to be always helped. And if you think that they are just people who need to be fixed, that this is some kind of sickness, that's how you're going to show on the job. So mindset and working on the mindset of the teachers, I think, is very important. And I think that we have a problem with that.
Yes,
I think that's such an
absolutely.
important point, Barbara, because I mean, and your book, I think, does a fantastic job of giving resources, giving readers resources and kind of that the perspective
Thank you.
of Absolutely. It's so needed. I feel like everyone should read that, whether a parent, caregiver, teacher, just because I think you said spot on with like there's different definitions of autism. We need to have that continuing education, that continuing learning to know what is it. And if they don't feel like I think, when you said, well, maybe they don't know what autistic people bring to the table. What I thought in my head was, well, maybe you should get another table then. Get another table.
Right.
So, but that's just I think for so long in the education system have had this assembly line almost of like, okay, this is what we do. We teach, they regurgitate, but that is not what life is. That is not what schools are. And I think that this is such an important conversation. And I remember one time I talked with someone who just was talking about a dog in the classroom, and this was a long time ago. And it really stood out to me where they were having a day that was just kind of upsetting to them. And they didn't say, I want to see the dog. I need to see the dog. And I thought that was so profound and not even anything to do with like autism or neurodivergence, but just want versus need. And we have this need. I just think that's so incredible. But also at the same time, I think that, even as I grow and I learn more about neurodivergence and autisms and the differences and, how I don't necessarily fit into, I'm a round peg in a square hole, those type of things. And I think there's so many misconceptions about autistic children, adults that, what are some of them that you feel like you have come across? I mean, I know you can touch base on this, but anything else that you'd like to talk with us about with the challenge that either parents of autistic children, neurodivergent children have, or as advocates for them?
I think, yes, I already touched it. I think it's just there's a lot of misconceptions, and everything is because of the lack of knowledge. Like if you don't know anybody autistic, then obviously you don't know. And that's how really, for me, before I had my child, I didn't know anything about it. And then you form your opinions about autistic individuals from some kind of maybe movies, I don't know, just from here, from there. But this is just such a distorted picture. I think that if you asked parent who never knew an autistic child, some parents wouldn't even allow their kid to be friends with autistic children. I've heard that too, thinking, well, they weird, or things like that, right? But again, it's just kind of like not knowing them. And also I think it's a parental mindset too, because I mean, why would you like to interact your child to interact only with kids who are just like your kids? Wouldn't it be cool if they could interact with others who bring something to the table? But again, many parents don't know what these autistic children bring to the table. They don't know that they can have incredible like passions, and their children could learn from them too, from interacting with them. They might not know that many autistic kids, teenagers, if they become your friend, that's like a friend for life. They just so extremely loyal. They value your friendship. Many people don't know that. And so that curiosity, I think, aspect is very important. So I think it's the mindset. If you kind of a little bit closed and you encounter something you don't know, we have kind of a tendency to think about it not in a very open ways, not curious ways. That's why it's important for everybody to cultivate the curiosity aspect, I think. And I mean, the worst probably misconception is that these kids just, they don't learn, and they bad students, and they have to be fixed. They have to be constantly just helped. They probably burden for the educational system. Who knows what else people think? But it's all because of not knowing their true gifts, really.
Barbara, this is absolutely intriguing to really hear your perspective, being on that front line, being able to hear from teachers, educators, also parents as well. But the power of collaboration, I mean, just even here, like being able to create this platform to really spark change. But my question for you is, when it comes to teachers and educators, how how would you suggest that they would be able to come together to maybe spark new ideas to maybe provide more inclusive environments?
I think, and that's why my advocacy in the area of therapy dogs, I would like teachers to be more open to welcoming therapy dogs in the classroom. That's one way. That's one way. I don't want to say easy way, but it's a relatively very inexpensive way of changing the way the classroom feels for everybody, including autistic children. And because therapy dog teams are pretty much usually volunteers, there is no cost involved for the school district. So you can do something different and you can really create a good, nice climate for the classroom by including therapy dogs. I'm doing my part by talking about it with my students so they understand that there are possibilities like that. Unfortunately, and I have to say it, if you go to a different institution that educates teachers, future teachers, you're not going to have a professor speaking about therapy dogs, how bringing therapy dogs to the classroom can make a difference. So that's a little bit of a problem, I think, that we focus too much on strategies, right? Reading strategies and a little bit about classroom management, all that. But this is just all surface level to me right now. um, Solutions. There are other solutions that are much deeper, more humanizing, bringing therapy animals, allowing children to feel the nature and to really kind of like shape the classroom climate so it doesn't look like what we usually see. Well, classroom desks, right? Smart board, the teacher. But what about changing this a little bit? In again, it's not an innovation that involves technology even at all. There's like none. Thinking in terms of nature, thinking in terms of bringing therapy animals. And this is not something you have to do every day, because even if my dog is not in the classroom every day, kids still talk about my dog with the teacher. So it goes on throughout the whole week even. I remember when the collaborating teacher Lucinda told me, the kids were just telling me we have to work more on how to be patient because Carmel is a very patient dog. We got to learn more from Carmel. So I think that in the educational field, we also have some things to do to work on. And that's another thing I'm thinking about, how to sort of activate that field a little bit. So it's not just strategies again, but we need a little bit more. We need to also think about how to bring mental health into the school system. That's why I really am such a strong advocate of merging these two fields, education and mental health. I don't think there is enough of it in education at all. If anything, it's very minimal. When you think about it, nothing has changed. You have a counselor in, let's say, high school, and that's it. It's been like that for what? 100 years, and nothing else is really changing. I mean, how else the schools are approaching in a different way mental health and helping children? There is not that much change. So it's like, what do we do? And again, educational institutions that teach future teachers have some work to do, I think. And I'm thinking how to kind of poke them a little bit. That's some more work that I have to do, I guess.
It's great.
You already done a lot of work, yes, especially to bringing about different and meaningful change in education system. And you're so right that the system hasn't changed in hundreds of years. Like if we look at the system, that how it was taught in like 400 years ago, actually is still the same way that the lectures are given. It's the same way everything is done. we have evolved. Every industry has evolved a lot, but education system is still very far behind. And there are lots of things that we can do, as you said that. But I think the urgency now is because now AI has already overtaken lots of things, and it is now the time that we need to address all these issues that you have actually pointed out, the mental health issues, and the way that the teachers deliver their content, their lectures, the way it's not just that they are not willing to do, it's just the teachers also, I'm sure, willing to improve, but it's they are just bound by the system that is hurting both teachers and students. So I think it's time that we need to actually take some actions to bring about these changes. And I know that you actually have been working on your second book, right? In your book. So tell us a bit more about it.
So thank you so much. This is my fifth book, actually.
Okay. Okay.
But the first ones were just kind of small, but they were all about therapy dogs and how we became therapy dog team. I wrote a book about that too, with a lot of pictures of Carmel, obviously, and from the training and other activities, all related to becoming therapy dog team. This last book that is going to come out very soon is directed towards parents, but also for anybody who could benefit from knowing about the brilliance of autistic children and about how to change certain things in the system. Mainly, I want to empower parents of autistic children to do something a little bit more, maybe to advocate more, and to really have them believe that they are incredible experts because they know about their children. They have a lot of knowledge, and this knowledge needs to be out there. Some parents don't really think that this is a big deal, that they know their child, and they just see everything through the perspective of a struggle, and they might not think about themselves as experts at all. And maybe they think that experts are just people who are in the educational system, and that is not true, because they are not. Everybody in that in the community, in the collaboration, should be an expert, including parents. So it is really my big hope to give any autistic parent, especially the ones who just learned about diagnosis, more hope, and just to tell them that the journey, although it will be with challenges, but they will they will figure it out, as long as they just create this mindset about themselves. I can do it. And as long as they think about their children as incredible individual, that's how it needs to start. You have to think about your child as an incredible child, incredible individual who has incredible potential and just needs um, adequate, proper help. So if you have this kind of mindset, you will be so much more effective in all these negotiations and collaborations with the schools. So it's mainly for the parents. That's I never wrote a book thinking mostly about the parents, but that's the one. But I also hope that some teachers and also people who are not really associated with autism or with teaching, they could also read the book to understand autism a little bit better, and maybe it will help them in thinking how it would be a really cool idea to make friends with autistic people.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, much needed for this. For this.
That's fantastic. And Barbara, I keep saying it, but like I truly feel like your book, it's a masterpiece for autistic individuals, for their parents, for advocates. I really feel like I've never seen something that opened my eyes so much, or I should say, I've never read something that opened my eyes so much to the world and this neurodivergent world, in a sense that, like, even for me, I was like, God, I can relate to that, or I remember that. I remember that conversation, like, with someone, or I remember this. And I love how you even break down these terms that we hear all the time in school, like IEP plans or whatever those plans are. And like, what questions can you ask? What things can you do to advocate? I think it's just so important. And just
Thank
so
you.
excited for it to come out and for you to share this with the world. I'd love for you to tell us, was there a defining moment in your journey that you felt had to be shared with the world through this book? Was there anything in particular? I mean, all of it's fantastic, but is there anything that really jumps out at you that you'd like to share with us?
And again, I don't think there was a defining moment, but defining, I think defining personality, I think it's really all about my child who is 18 years old, but I think experiencing the development of their personality, interests, and intensity of detail, being detail oriented. I've learned so much about music from my child. They are also very artistically talented, and I saw the development of these talents. And we have some artists in the family, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the way Kalina is drawing, I mean, this is incredible. I haven't seen that. And that really, I think, made me realize, and also the conversation with my child, who's an extremely kind person. Like if something is happening to someone, they just want to help them, talk to them on the phone. They're going through something terrible. I want to help them. I want to be for them. It's just really incredible. I haven't seen, I mean, there are many kind people, but I just haven't seen like the extent of showing kindness in such an incredible way. So I think the brilliance of an autistic personality and interests uh, in my child really made this a defining moment. I would say it's like I need to share their personality and therefore how other autistic people might appear too, and they might have different talents or similar ones. I need to share this with the world. I think that would be the defining, again, something that was just growing, growing, growing until I think there's a funny thing sometimes when we hear that, oh gosh, I wish my kids were not growing, right? Because they're just so cute when they're little. We don't want to see them grow. It's too fast. Oh my goodness. I don't have this feeling at all. I don't know why, but each time I see my child maturing and doing something different and growing, I'm like, I like this stage so much better than when they were little. And I never have this thinking like, well, let them be little. I don't want them to be little. I just want them to develop their talents and skills because I see that this is something that people who are not autistic, they just will not have this level of detail. It's absolutely incredible.
Yes.
Barbara, thank you so much. I just want to round out with one particular question. Your passion truly is an inspiration to help educators, to help parents, autistic children, neurodivergent children. For parents listening who may be at the beginning of the journey with their own children, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be to really, number one, work on their mindset, really. Because if you don't believe in your child's potential, here is the problem. How are you going to then advocate for your child? I think this is a big problem. And it's not always easy to see this potential, especially when the younger, just personality talents are not developed yet. But you have to work on your mindset right away, I think. And then also find out about some resources, how to speak to your child, how to always focus on what they're doing. And they might have a meltdown, they might act out, but why are they doing this? I think the big question is why. I made a lot of mistakes too. My kid had a meltdown I would yell or something like, "What are you doing? Aren't you getting ready? Are we getting late?" None of this really works, and I had to find out other ways. I had to find out that every behavior is a communication. So every parent should know that every behavior is communication. Communicate something. It doesn't matter if it's a happy behavior or some other type of behavior. It communicates something. So really sitting with your child and finding out what's happening. It's so important. It's so simple, but really is very important. And then another piece of advice I think is to learn a little bit how to talk to teachers, principals, people in the school, because it requires some skills, some negotiation, even tactics. I know it sounds very strange that parents have to learn about negotiation tactics. I wish that was not the case, but unfortunately it is. So learn a little bit about it too, I think. That's just kind of like easy tools, kind of easy.
Yes,
Thank you,
I
And
think
Barbara.
another piece of
those.
advice,
Yeah,
sorry, I was
sorry.
just
Go
going to
ahead.
say, Barbara, another piece of advice that I would say you should include now is your upcoming book for your parents to read your upcoming
Of
book.
course, but I didn't even think about it, but thank you so much. So that's very easy. All you do is once it's ready, you click, you buy, and then you
Yes,
can
absolutely.
contact me too. And I would be very happy to hear from people if the book helped them in any way and what their experiences are. And of course,
Yes, I think your book is amazing, and I think this
thank you.
it's not only for the autistic parents. I think every parent should read, because the struggles that you shared, of course they should know that their children also can go through some of the struggles, and there are ways to tackle this. And especially the advice that you've given, that I love that advice, that every behavior is a communication. It actually changes the entire perception, and that is equally important for parents who have neurotypical kids, right? They have
Yes.
their behavior also does, and it's not like meltdown is not limited to autistic children. Neurotypical kids can also have a meltdown, and that meltdown also communicates something. And as a parent, we should know that what is communicating, instead of just yelling them on it, instead of just suppressing that behavior. We should actually connect with the kids to find out what is the root cause. So, anyways, I'll just quickly ask. I know that we are actually over time. Let's just quickly ask the same question. I would just say there were Courtney has asked. Like, it's now I'd ask that what advice would you give to the educators, that what step they can take to support autistic children?
I would literally give the same advice, the one that you just mentioned, Ambreen, that every behavior is a communication. When the kid doesn't do something, let's say the teacher explained the lesson, whatever assignment, and the kid is struggling, even with the help of the teacher, the question should be, what's happening? Why is the work not happening? Why is the child not really into doing this work? What's going on? You have to ask these questions. If you come with the idea, well, they lazy, I've explained, they still don't get it, that is not how you're going to serve this population. And also, that's not how you're going to serve any child. So every behavior is a communication. And some of these behaviors can be, yes, I understand, very bad, annoying, whatever, but they communicate something. And sometimes the kids, they just don't have other ways of expressing their feelings, and that would change dramatically a lot for many children in schools if teachers had this perspective.
Well, thank you so much, Barbara. Really appreciate your time that you gave with us today. And I really am so excited to learn more, to bring my curiosity, bring my critical thinking, all of that to these topics today. And I think that you are, again, such an incredible advocate and an incredible person. So thank you so much.
And Barbara, just to round it out, how can listeners connect with you and support your mission?
And thank you, Valerie, for saying everything you said about me. I just feel like, so, oh my, is this about me? Thank you for the question too, Courtney. I am on all the major social media platforms. I am on Facebook as Barbara Vokatis, I think. I am on Instagram dr.barb.educator. I am on LinkedIn too as Barbara Vokatis, I think Ph.D. And these are the major platforms that definitely I would love to audience to follow me, to just come and say something in DM. That would be awesome.
Thank you so much, Barbara.
Thank you so
Thank
much. It
you.
was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was so incredible to talk to you all about this. And I just can't wait to have the book out so I can talk more about this.
Absolutely. We're waiting.
I really appreciate your invitation. It was so incredible to talk to all three of you.